Welcome to the Document Strategy Podcast, a free and independent podcast dedicated to the promotion of document strategy design worldwide. I'm your host, Kevin Craine, and I'd like to welcome you to the broadcast today. The world for business-to-business companies is critically different from the world of their business-to-consumer counterparts, but those differences are often overlooked. So says my guest today, best-selling author and B2B business expert, Sean Geehan. Sean's book, the B2B Executive Playbook, has made several national bestseller lists, including the USA Today and Wall Street Journal. And we're going to explore the different challenges and opportunities B2B firms face relative to their B2C brethren, and how those challenges and opportunities should be accounted for in the design of your document strategy and customer communications. After all, when you're a B2B, your customers are other businesses, not necessarily end-user consumers. So what are the best practices that will improve B2B business success? How can executives, decision makers, and influencers of B2Bs integrate an effective document strategy in their standard operating procedure? And most importantly, what does all of this mean for document industry professionals? All of this and more when we return with this episode of the Document Strategy Podcast. This episode of the Document Strategy Podcast is sponsored in part by Pro Channel Manager from Crawford Technologies. Are you able to deliver important communications to your customers when, where, and how they want it? What about interfacing with digital mailbox services for significant savings and increased customer satisfaction? With Pro Channel Manager from Crawford Technologies, you can deliver critical customer communications to leading digital mailbox services. Manage all customer preferences for communication delivery from one database. Realize your portion of billions of dollars in printing and mailing savings with Pro Channel Manager. Best of all, you reach your best customers where, when, and how they want. Find out more about Pro Channel Manager at crawfordtech.com. That's www.crawfordtech.com. Communicating with customers is not as simple as it used to be. Between websites, social media, text messaging, and even plain old print and mail, companies find that communicating with customers is more complex than ever before. Transaction from OMI changes all of that with a single cloud-based platform to manage all of your customer communications. Transaction helps you reduce the burden of paper and improve your communications through paperless statements, web-based correspondence, email, and social media. Now you have a central point where all of your customer communications meet to deliver value to the day-to-day transactions of your business, no matter what channel you use. Visit omi.co. That's omi.co.
You're listening to the Document Strategy Podcast.
It's my pleasure to welcome Sean Geehan to the podcast. Sean is president and founder of Geehan Group, a thought leader in B2B business and provider of customer advisory board research, services, and methodology. Sean's worked with hundreds of companies in developing and incorporating B2B best practices, including Xerox, Standard Register, NCR, Reynolds & Reynolds, Dell, and many more. Sean's book, the B2B Executive Playbook, has made several national bestseller lists. He's spoken at conferences across the country and hosts his own weekly radio talk show. He received the prestigious Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 2002. Sean Geehan, welcome to the Document Strategy Podcast. Your book, the B2B Executive Playbook, has the subtitle, The Ultimate Weapon for Achieving Sustainable, Predictable, and Profitable Growth. What do you mean by that, and how can I use your book as this ultimate weapon?
We found a very unique way and uncovered, regardless of industry, regardless of size of organization, and regardless of geography, a way where B2B companies can separate themselves from the competition and give them a profitable, predictable growth path that I've never seen before. So that's what it came to, is the ultimate weapon to separate yourself from the competition and really break the mold of trying to take a B2C formula and apply it in the B2B world. It just wasn't working. So what I did was uncover those four key elements that I found the world-class companies to have in common, and we built a story around that.
And in your book, you say that the world for executives in business-to-business companies is critically different from the world of their business-to-consumer counterparts. How so?
Where the B2B world and the B2C worlds are the same are in the back office. HR, finance, manufacturing, those elements are very similar. Where it is different is on the go-to-market side. Marketing, sales, strategy, acquisitions, and service. Those sides of the equation are the formula or the playbook needs to be different in order for you to be successful.
And what are the different challenges and opportunities that B2B firms face relative to their B2C brethren?
Well, one common one is most B2B companies have far fewer customers than their B2C partners. So, for instance, Starbucks is about $16 billion. They have 85 million customers. GE Aviation is about the same size, so they're about $18 billion, and they have 500 customers. So just the sheer number of customers. And in fact, only 10 customers represent that revenue at GE. How many customers would you have to go to get 50% of Starbucks or 50% of Starbucks revenue? So that alone dictates a much different model from which to be successful, because imagine losing your top one or two customers. It would really damage GE if they lost Boeing or Airbus, their two biggest customers. But if you lost your top 1,000 customers at Starbucks and they went across the street and bought McLattes at McDonald's, I don't think it would dent the top line or the bottom line at Starbucks.
And indeed, you discuss how the fate of many B2Bs rests in the hands of a relatively few people. What do you mean by that, and what do I need to do about that?
Well, think about the same story. If you only have 500 customers driving $18 billion in revenue, and by the way, that's just one example. It goes up and down. There are a lot of small professional service firms, law firms, accounting firms, that maybe 3 or 4 customers, or in the tool and die business, one automotive manufacturer is 85% of your revenue. Well, what you need to do differently, because it rests in the hands of a few people, we've got to make sure we understand their needs, have solid relationships and trust, and really model our strategy and our direction based upon their needs and where they're going to make their investments. If we don't do that, we're in trouble.
Now, Sean, your book, the B2B Executive Playbook, it's a playbook. What are some of the top plays that you might recommend that we employ in moving forward with B2B marketing success?
If you have just a few people that determine your fate, we've got to figure out how to bring them in. And we want to bring them in a collective fashion. So imagine if your top 20 customers represent 60% of your revenue. If we bring in and find out what are the issues they have in common, and what are their expectations of us as a key supplier to them, we can map our strategy and align it to meet their needs. And that's the real key. That's the first step in the playbook, is really letting the customers be the catalyst or the nucleus of setting your strategic plan. Now, I'm not saying that the market doesn't listen on the consumer side, but two of the most successful companies a generation ago is probably Ford, and Henry Ford was probably the biggest entrepreneur, most successful entrepreneur. And in our generation right now, it was Steve Jobs. Both of them never would go and talk to a customer to map out their strategy. Henry Ford said, if all I did was talk to my customers, I just have a better buggy whip. Steve Jobs said the same thing. I don't need to talk to my customers. They don't know what the future is. The difference in the B2B world is that the people you're selling to have some level of expertise. So imagine a CIO, a Chief Information Officer, the IT leader of a major financial institution. She probably knows what the compliance issues are as far as technology, the security walls that need to be put up so people don't breach their system for either privacy or to take money or move accounts, etc. So when their suppliers approach them, they're very much in the know about their industry and their particular discipline. On the consumer side, I buy an iPod, and I don't know how it works. I just know I like music, and I want to get it in a convenient way, and an easy way to download it. So I can present problems, but I can't be a part of fulfilling the solutions because I don't know what technology exists and capability and capacity to make that happen. So I can't be a part of the design process. That's not the case on the B2B side, where in fact most companies that do breakthrough offerings do it by collaborating very closely with their customers, bringing them into the labs, exchanging employees, etc. That's the big difference. Companies like Oracle and Wells Fargo and HCL do it in a significantly positive way. And if you think about the performance, Wells Fargo on the commercial side is far outpacing Bank of America and JP Morgan. So even on the services, all the way to the products like Oracle, has completely outpaced a company called SAP. Maybe you've never heard of them, but everybody's heard of Oracle, and that's why.
I'm speaking with Sean Geehan, best-selling author of the B2B Executive Playbook, the ultimate weapon for achieving sustainable, predictable, and profitable growth. And when we get back, I'll ask Sean what all this means for professionals in the document business and what he believes are some best practices B2B companies can employ to improve their customer communications. So stick around. We'll be right back with this episode of the Document Strategy Podcast.
You're listening to the Document Strategy Podcast.
Since 1995, Crawford Technologies has been the driving force behind high-volume transactional customer communications for corporations and service bureaus around the globe. Transform print streams to and from virtually any format. Alter, enhance, modify, or add advertising to transactional documents without application changes. Archive and store customer communications, then allow them to be presented online. Crawford Tech allows all of this and more. Visit crawfordtech.com for more information. That's www.crawfordtech.com, award-winning software for high-volume transactional customer communications. Communicating with customers is not as simple as it used to be. Between websites, social media, text messaging, and even plain old print and mail, companies find that communicating with customers is more complex than ever before. Transaction from OMI changes all of that with a single cloud-based platform to manage all of your customer communications. Transaction helps you reduce the burden of paper and improve your communications through paperless statements, web-based correspondence, email, and social media. Now you have a central point where all of your customer communications meet to deliver value to the day-to-day transactions of your business, no matter what channel you use. Visit omi.co. That's omi.co.
You're listening to the Document Strategy Podcast.
Welcome back. I'm speaking with Sean Geehan, author of the B2B Executive Playbook. And Sean, when it comes to customer communications, and in this case we assume that customer communication is from business to business, what are some of the best practices that you suggest that will improve our business success?
Well, as you well know, this industry is in complete transformation. Communication from print to electronic or some blend of that is really being turned upside down. And we're trying to figure out what those levers are. People still want to touch and feel things, but they also want the convenience and the update of real time being done electronically. So we have to strike that balance. And funny you say that because we've worked with companies like Intel, Xerox, Standard Register, AmerisourceBergen, many in the healthcare space that are trying to manage this communication about medical records and document flow throughout the hospital systems. It is a huge challenge, but also a tremendous opportunity for those that get it right. And I think those that are getting it right are figuring out, they go to the hospitals and find out what the flow of the documents that follow the patients around are, for instance, and reverse engineer how they can be doing that in a much different way to benefit the both patient experience and the efficiency of the hospital, as well as making sure that they're compliant to the privacy issues that surround us today in the healthcare market. Companies like Standard Register are really grappling with that, but engaging the market directly to figure that out.
What are the differences between the relationships that a company has with other businesses and the relationships that they have with end user customers? And how should those differences shape their document strategy?
You have, in the B2B world, you have users and kind of influencers and decision makers. And what's interesting about companies that are evolving is they spend a lot of time with the users to understanding the experience. But most companies, the breakout companies, really spend a lot of time at the influencer and decision maker level. And the reason why, I think when you spend time with users, they have a tendency to tell you how their experience needs to change or what they need, what they would like from you differently, feature and functionality of whatever it is you're offering. But when you move up to the for instance, document management, we've got to make sure that your document is interoperable from the back office to the front office, that it's tied into the data sets if you need it, etc. So they're looking at efficiencies. And then, quite frankly, at the high level, the decision maker level, the CFO, let's say, of a hospital or an organization where it looks over and says, do I want a new document management system? They need a return on investment. So if I invest $1 into a new document management system, I got to know what impact is that going to have on my top line or my bottom line. So you have to understand it at those three levels. And if you don't, you may get it wrong, because what the user wants may not be what the decision maker wants to invest in, and it might not be compliant with what the influencers or the regulators at the middle level make sure that it makes the proper protocols as far as privacy, for instance, in healthcare or security within the financial services space.
Well, indeed, your prescription for B2Bs is getting leaders to realize that success resides in how they engage with these influencers and how that will drive their internal alignment and operations. How can companies come to that realization and achieve that kind of strategic alignment?
Well, it's interesting. People want to get together with their peers and figure out, especially in transformational spaces like what we're discussing, document management. There's never a shortage, whether it's from Xerox or Standard Register or Intel or Oracle, about the documents management. Getting key leaders, high C-level people or vice presidents together to talk about how they're struggling, what are the challenges, how they're dealing with it today, and really giving input to organizations willing to change and adjust to the market needs. They'll get together and have those conversations because they want a seat at the table and they want to learn from each other. And you have an opportunity today to make that happen, because in transformational times, they want to get together, they want to validate, because imagine their boss now asking them, why are you doing what you're doing? And if I can go back and say, I just met with 15 peers, and this is the best practice, it gives you a level of confidence and clarity to say, we need to take this electronically, or we need to engage a social media strategy on top of our print piece, et cetera, et cetera. It gives you the justification and the confidence to move forward with something a lot more aggressively than if you didn't. And I do believe, Kevin, this is the difference between incremental and transformation. And if you're in a transformational industry and you're applying incremental strategies and tactics, you're going to lose. There's going to be a big gap. And make no mistake, document management, I don't know that there's an industry or a discipline in faster transformation because of technology, disruptive technology, than this sector. So if you think you're going from 10 mile an hour to 20 miles an hour, but the market demands are going at 50 miles an hour, you're still losing. You're falling further and further behind in somebody's rearview mirror.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and unfortunately the whole notion of documents and communications and having a document strategy just tends to be overlooked in that larger strategic scope. But indeed, I agree that it is important to have those realities integrated into your company's standard operating procedure. Otherwise, you're more likely to be wasting time and money. What can companies do to achieve this sort of integration, especially when it comes to their documents and customer communications?
What's going to open people's eyes, what's going to open the market's eyes, and when you see a business case for it, absolutely get to the decision makers, and you've got to prove to them if I invest money into a new document management solution, that this is the business impact. And business impact is two things. You're either driving my top line or you're driving my bottom line, or my margins. And if you can't do one of those two things, it's not a business case. You may just be doing the user experience, and they're only going to give you so much premium for that. But if you can change how they're doing business or give them a competitive edge that could actually drive revenue or really shift their cost structure to a more efficient model where they can invest that extra 5% into R&D or give it to shareholders or give it to training, things like that, then you've opened the eyes of the business people. And that's the holy grail. And this is why the ultimate weapon is you have to engage business-level decision makers in anything you're doing, because at the end of the day, that's the person signing the bill and buying off and supporting or championing any major initiative as you're describing.
I'm speaking with Sean Geehan, best-selling author of the B2B Executive Playbook. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back. www.document-strategy.com. That's where you'll find everything you need to put together a document strategy that will result in real-world bottom-line benefits, including my 3-hour document strategy training seminar on DVD. This video training program covers the methods and concepts found in my book, Designing a Document Strategy, including an in-depth discussion of the 5-phase document strategy design model, as well as case studies that demonstrate how the approaches and methodology can be used in the real world. Folks, this is independent, user-focused education on document strategy design, the kind of information that you can take back to your place of business to build real-world strategies that will save you money, improve efficiency, and bolster end-user satisfaction. Don't have time or the funding to leave your office for industry conferences and technical seminars? No problem. Now you can benefit from this document strategy training without leaving your office. Visit www.document-strategy.com to order your copy today. There's nothing else like it available. 3 hours of document strategy design training on DVD. That's www.document-strategy.com, your real-world resource for document strategy design.
Do you have great ideas but need expert writing skills to make them leap from the page? Do you have a great product or service that needs better exposure to new customers, potential partners, or the media? Craine Communications Group is a custom writing and communications agency focused on the document processing and information management industries, expert writing and editing, audio success stories and custom podcasts, and dependable and professional customer service. Contact us today at www.crainegroup.com. That's Craine, C-R-A-I-N-E, crainegroup.com.
You're listening to the Document Strategy Podcast.
I'm speaking with best-selling author and B2B expert Sean Geehan. Sean, it's been great speaking with you today. Where can people learn more about your book?
Well, it's easy. You can either go to CEO Read. That's where the best business books are. You can peruse all those books, but CEO Read, that's 800CEORead.com, or Amazon.com, or Barnes & Noble, or some of your favorite bookstores. But those are the places you go on and read, and they even give you some snippets of the book and some summaries, a lot of which I didn't cover today.
And if people want to contact you?
Yeah, you can contact me at SeanGeehan.com and or GeehanGroup.com. Either one of those websites, and just click through it, and you can either send me an email or my phone number's on there as well.
That's Sean Geehan, author of the B2B Executive Playbook. Sean, thank you for being on the Document Strategy Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
That'll do it for this episode of the Document Strategy Podcast. Join us next time when we continue to explore methods, technologies, and techniques to design real-world document strategies with bottom-line benefits. I'm your host, Kevin Craine. Thanks for listening. Document-strategy.com, your real-world resource for document strategy design.